Hi everyone, and welcome back to Blackwood Engage Layout. Now, since the last update, on the face of it, it doesn't really look as though I have done terribly much. The camera's pointing at the area where the next set of overhead catenary portals are going to go, and as you can see, not one single one of them has actually been made up. In the last video I was obviously talking about automating the signals, and basically since the last update that's actually what I've been doing. So as you can see, there are now two lit signals in the camera shot there. The signal on the left hand side, which is showing the red aspect, that hadn't been wired in on the last video, but it's now wired in, and the other signal was previously wired in. These two signals are now, if you like, interlocked, so they will react to the changing of the set of points that you see just beyond the signal that's showing the red aspect at the moment. And they'll also react to the set of crossovers which are just beyond the road overbridge. So what we'll do is we'll run a couple of trains round and I'll try and show you exactly the signals in operation. So firstly, the class 66 that just comes into shot right now goes through, goes over the infrared sensor, and it has tripped the signal back to red. Where the train is just going round the corner, it is now passing a second signal which has got the timing function on it. So it will now have gone to red, and in a minute you can see the signal now goes back to yellow, and it's now tripped back to green. So if I stop the train and then we actually watch what happens with that point when I change the point. So as I said earlier, the signals are locked to the point. So at the moment we have a green aspect on the main line, and when I change the point that's just in front of the road bridge, that should go back to red, and the other signal should clear to indicate that the route is open. And as you heard the clunk of the solenoid point motor, you can now see that that has indeed gone to green. Now, as I said, there are a set of crossovers, so just beyond the road bridge. So again, if a train was coming the opposite direction, it was going to cross over and then it was going to run down this line here. Then when obviously the signal would not be showing a green aspect, it would be showing a red aspect. So if I change those points, and as you can see, the signal has now tripped back to red automatically just by the changing of the points. Now if I change it back again, it's back to green, and like everything else, there is a set of sensors. So if a train coming in this direction comes along here, passes the signal, it will go over the sensor will go to red, and then as the train carries on, it will go to the next signal, it will go to red, and just like the first signal here, the timing should go, you see it's gone back to yellow, it's gone back to green. Okay, and the length of time that will sit in the yellow, length of time will sit in the green, that is determined by the pot timer that is on the other aspect, the other signal that you can't quite see. It's round the bend on the layout, and it's very easy. You can just it's just a small screwdriver. You just need to turn the pot timer by a fraction of a millimetre, and that can equal 3 or 4 seconds. At the moment the signals are probably they don't really dwell very long on the yellow, as you can see, so the pot timer probably needs adjusted very slightly, but that's a minor thing to get done. But the main thing is these signals here are now working in conjunction with the points. Now, before I actually go inside into the middle of the layout, the camera is pointing here at this point, Now that's obviously one of the points that's actually tied into these two signals here and the signal further round on the layout. And I had a small issue with this point in that when I was changing it, it's connected to a point at the other end, so there's 2 points change in unison, but when I changed it, it wasn't firing over. It's what I call a sticky point motor, and it's just that the point motor hasn't been 100% centred when I've installed it. So it's I've fixed points like this before quite a number of times, so it's just a case of removing the solenoid point motor and then reattaching it, and obviously making sure that it's fully centred in the correct position. Unfortunately, I got the point motor off without any problem at all. The only problem was that it decided to take half of the point tie bar, which is this point bit right in here, alongside it. So effectively it knackered the entire point. So I have had to remove the point altogether, and that's actually a brand spanking new point that has had to go in. So again, having to remove all the ballast very carefully, remove the point, unwire all the connections underneath and label them all so that they all go back in the right place. That is time consuming, so that has also taken up some of my time since the last video. But what we'll do now is we'll go under the layout and I'll show you the last bit of what I've been doing. Right, you're probably wondering why the camera is pointing at basically an empty space under the baseboard framing. That is because up until about 3 weeks ago, there was actually a small control panel, a lighting control panel that hung down, which actually did restrict access underneath the layout. Now you'll see that that is now completely gone, and that is because if I move around here, this has now been brought in. All the switches have been moved, and there's actually some new switches. So if I just zoom in very slightly, on the old lighting panel, there was basically one light for all of the street lights, etc. But as you can see, what I've done is I've now broken these up, so there are now separate circuits for the station lights, the bridge lights, the motive power depot lights and the town lights. The other thing down below that, you'll see ground signal. I have in actual fact moved a ground signal, which I'll show you in a minute. And then as you can see, those are the two, what I call the two kill switches that I was talking about. So you can see platform 5 route indicator, and if it's flicked down it goes to stop, and then there's the outer route indicator and then goes to stop. So there is plenty of room on this control panel here to have other signals automated. These two rotary switches, these are obviously the signals which are at the other end of Blackwood station. They've obviously not been automated yet. They might be quite difficult to automate because there is so much point work around the area. So I may not be able to actually fully automate those signals, but I will have a go. But what I've done so far is basically the other end of the actual layout. So what I'll show you now is the ground signal. I'll show you where I've actually moved it to. So the ground signal, if I point with my dedicated pointer here, this bit of kind of clean ballast, that is where the ground signal was sitting, but I've actually removed it and I've taken it away from there, and if I come back over, you will now see it is actually sitting on here, and it's basically controlling this crossover here, so it's actually in a much better position as the Class 170 trundles through the station. So that's essentially what I have been up to over the last 4 to 5 weeks. So to summarise, it's been carrying on to automate essentially 3 signals, interlink them all together. plus move the route indicator, sorry not the route indicator, the ground signal to a better position within the station. Obviously the platform starter, which I'm pointing at just now, that's obviously been automated. And obviously the actual all the street lighting, station lighting, etc. has all been moved. It's all working on separate circuits. And of course I had the pleasure of having to take out a point and replace a point after my cack handiness of managing to destroy the original one. So as I say, not a huge amount or visually on the top of the layout has changed, but I have actually been still exceptionally busy on the actual layout. So in a couple of weeks' time it will be Model Rail Scotland, and I have suggested a tentative meet-up around about 2 PM on the Friday afternoon, probably around about the Hornby stand. So if any of you are there, it would be great to actually see you, meet you in person. So with that, I think it's time for the monthly running session. So we will cut over to that right now. Now, to start this running session, a number of you who have followed this channel for quite a number of years will know that I have taken a bit of a teasing from certain other YouTube channels around my but my reluctance to have a blue Pullman train. Well, I'm pleased to say to you that that wrong has now been righted, and I have now taken delivery, and I'm very grateful to Chris Inge from Wheezy Palace, who has actually sold me his Farish Blue Pullman, which is coming along right now. And I have to say it is an absolutely superb model. Chris did say to me that he'd only run it probably a handful of times. To be quite honest with you, it was a pristine new model when I got it from Chris. So many thanks, Chris. And also I have to pay tribute to the facilitator of this deal, which was one Mr. Mark Ireland from Piddle in the Marsh fame. So thank you, Mark, for putting me in touch with Chris, and obviously the Blue Pullman has now arrived on Blackwood and it is a cracking model, I have to say. So let's now get back to some other running shots of some other trains. Well, that's really the update for this month. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the trains trundling around the layout. And thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next layout update. So it's bye from me for now. Bye.